So we're here at Historic Pensacola Village, and we have a lot to offer here. We are open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And every day we have living history programs going on, demonstrating skills and activities, showing what life was like here in Pensacola in the early 1800s. We also offer several public tours that go through our historic buildings. We offer those 3 times a day at 11, 1, and 2 o'clock. And those houses will take you on a journey where you get to see how the city evolved over the course of about 100 years. You'll get a brief introduction to catch you up on Pensacola history, and then that tour will take you through an 1805 colonial home. It'll go through Old Christ Church. It'll go through an 1870s Victorian home, and then you wind up in a 1920s boarding house. So it really shows visitors how the city changed and progressed through the 19th century. What really makes Historic Pensacola Village unique is that it's our history. We're showcasing the history of Pensacola, Florida, and the events and the activities that took place here. You'll hear stories about the people who lived here in the town. So that is something that is unique to us and that you just won't see at any other museum or location. So when you're walking through Historic Pensacola Village, you will see people dressed up as if they were living in the early 1800s. And we chose this time period for a few different reasons. For one, several of the buildings that we are surrounded by here in the Historic Village come from that time period of the early 19th century. And it's a very unique time period. Pensacola had a very diverse population at that time period, and we're able to highlight those stories and showcase what life was like for the people living here during that time. However, if you go on that walking tour, you'll actually see about a 120-year time span of how the city evolved. So although your tour guide may be dressed up like it's still the early 1800s, you'll start your tour in that time period, but you'll actually wind up about 100 years later when you finish that tour. It's really hard to pick a favorite building because they are also unique and special, but I am particularly fond of the early 19th century. So I would have to say my favorite buildings would be the Lavallee House, which is a great example of Gulf Coast Creole style architecture, and also the Julie Cottage, which is also a good example of urban architecture in the early 19th century.
The Pensacola Museum of History is the UWF Historic Trust flagship museum. We have a collection of over 200,000 objects, and of course not all of them are on display at the same time, but the majority of them do get rotated in and out over the 3 floors of changing exhibits within our museum. The most popular exhibit we have here at the UWF Historic Trust is definitely our Trader John's exhibit. Trader was a well-known local who operated a bar for over 50 years in Pensacola and was known for his eccentric collection of items, particularly related to the Naval Air Station. We have his entire collection, and we've done a pretty good job, if I say so myself, about rebuilding the bar. I think a lot of visitors don't understand how crucially important our little town was to the early foundations of our nation's history. I like to say that Pensacola was kind of colonial hot potato. We got bounced around between a lot of different colonial powers, from the English, the French, the Spanish, and finally became an American territory in 1821. And through all of that, we've been pretty central in the story and the founding of the United States. So we hope that our visitors learn a little bit more about that when they visit our museum.
We are at the corner of Belmont and DeVilliers, right at the heart of this historic neighborhood. As Pensacola was building itself up, growing up, becoming this amazing city, it started expanding west, and Belmont-DeVilliers became part of that. The neighborhood is named for the intersecting streets, and so this is that commercial core for the neighborhood, so hence the name Belmont-DeVilliers. And so for the African American community post-Civil War and during segregation, it became the business district for the city for African Americans, particularly after the turn of the century, the turn of the 20th century. And so it is the place where you could live, work, and play. You could heal, a whole lot of playing. It was the entertainment capital for the African American community. And it was a place where you could shop, where you could love, where you could heal, where you could live in such great harmony with your neighbors. And so it just continued to build up and build up and build up. To be a part of the Mississippi Blues Trail for us is an historic accomplishment. We're only the second one in the state of Florida to have this designation. And so it means that we are recognized as a vital part of the blues history, the blues legacy, and the blues music. So such great people lived here, played here, wrote their songs about the neighborhood, about Pensacola here. And so it is so exciting that we are part of the Mississippi Blues Trail. We are the Florida part of Mississippi Blues Trail. So yeah, we're the second one, but we're first in the hearts of the Mississippi Blues Trail. The history of Belmont-DeVilliers is being preserved and celebrated today through its stories, through its buildings, most importantly through its people, through the families, the descendants, the ancestors that are still living here, working here, remembering here, and then telling their stories to others. And so whether you live here or whether you're visiting here, you're going to meet somebody who has been impacted by Belmont-DeVilliers. So like for the Kukua Institute, we are preserving it through stories. We're doing it through virtual reality, through maintaining the photographs and preserving all the visual imagery and collective assets of it. We have the museum downtown, the Hilton Green Room that's doing it. And then on the buildings, you see these fantastic murals where artists have shown what reflects in their heart about this neighborhood, what they've been told and sometimes what they've seen. So these buildings tell this amazing story, but the best way that we're doing this is through the people and recognizing the people that built this place and that made this place what it is. And the new stories that come in, like being part of the Mississippi Blues Trail provides an opportunity for new stories to come in. So all around we're working hard to preserve it and to make sure that future people know that we are here.
Fort Pickens connects Americans to the history and legacy of the United States military. It is a part of a national system of defense designed to discourage or delay the invasions of foreign powers of this nation. Pickens is known as a third system coastal fortification. It is one of 42 that were designed and built by the United States Army Corps of Engineers. Between 1829 and 1834, Fort Pickens was built by enslaved laborers, and upon its completion, it had space to mount over 200 cannon that could fire their projectiles in all directions, either out to the Gulf, into the shipping channel, or into the bay, or up Santa Rosa Island, where I'm located. During the American Civil War, fought between 1861 and 1865, Fort Pickens was occupied and held by United States military forces. In 1861 and early in 1862, this fort was used by those U.S. forces to battle Confederates located north of us on the Florida mainland. Later in the 19th century and into the early 20th century, the U.S. Army continued to maintain its presence here and continued to design and construct new modern coastal defenses that still exist around this landscape today. At Fort Pickens, the National Park Service balances the preservation of military history and the protection of the natural landscape primarily through education. By teaching the
thousands of visitors who come to this national seashore and to this historic fort about the U.S. military history, about the struggles and triumphs of past Americans. We hope that they will become more aware of their history and their connection to this site. These walls would share the stories of the countless people who marched into and out of this fort, from the earliest U.S. soldiers in their wool uniforms coming into this fort into the 1830s, to the enslaved laborers and those freedom seekers who used this fort in their journey on the Underground Railroad, to the U.S. soldier here in the 1930s and 40s. These walls would tell us about those human stories, their struggles, their sacrifices, their commitment to service for the United States. Visitors can see an abundance of wildlife at Gulf Islands National Seashore and here at Fort Pickens throughout the year. In teaching visitors about the natural landscape, we hope that they'll become more aware of their relationship to the plants, to the animals, and become better stewards of a place that has been set aside for them and belongs to them.